The Village of Villa Park Board of Trustees meeting, January 22nd, 2024. Clerk Kernicki, please call the roll.
Trustee Alfano?
Here.
Trustee Cordova?
Here.
Trustee Corkery?
Here.
Trustee Kozar?
Here.
Trustee Kumar? Trustee Patrick?
Here.
President Kazone?
Here. And if we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us to make the decisions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, we'll move on to item 3, amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments we'd like to make? Okay, seeing none. Item 4, public comments on agenda items. Do we have anyone signed up?
Not for an agenda, no.
Okay, anyone in the audience, agenda items? Seeing none. Item 5, public comments on non-agenda items.
Yes, Robert Gould signed up.
Board. Name is Robert Gould, G-U-H-L. I own a commercial property. It's on Stone Road in Iowa. My address is 331 West Stone Road. I've been an owner for probably longer than anybody on the street. And the street is taking a beating with all the abandoned cars. There's junkyards. I'm contemplating putting a junkyard on my property because it seems to be the trend. So I'm even asking the board, rather than going through an application, can I create a junkyard on my property? I have a beautiful parkway. I'm going to put stone. There's just cars abandoned all over, and all we're looking for is signage, and even like signage like they have in the city when it snows. The plows can't even get through. There's cars that are just abandoned, no license plates. The police, I just got back from out of town the other day, and after a snowstorm, I called the police department. A gentleman came out, very polite, said, do you want me to write a report? I mean, there was a foot of snow. I said, no, not tonight. He said, go to the board. So that's why I'm here, and I'm going to become a regular guest, if you don't mind. This has been going on for a long time. I mean, I put a lot of money in my building. I'm one of the only owners. A lot of people, renters and stuff, and it's kind of like a trash bin. And even if you go to, I just put $100,000 in my property inside and out, and eventually I want to sell it. And it looks like Guadalajara. I mean, it's terrible. Nothing wrong with Guadalajara, but all we need is signage. And even like when snow comes, because cars get covered in snow, they can't even get out. I mean, I just threatened a guy I was going to take my forklift to lift the car up and put it on his parkway. But can we just, I know it's in the infant stage of doing this, but I'm going to become a regular guest, if you don't mind, and press this, because this has been going on for years. Paul Green owns G Automotive. He's a good friend of mine. He's a hoarder, and God bless him for whatever purpose, but he empties his lot and then fills it again. He's got to have 100 cars, and I think the village code says no junkyards. That's why I'm appealing. Can I open a junkyard? Because I'm in the RV repair business. I've got a lot of parts. I think they'd look wonderful in my front yard, just like everybody else. I mean, they park cars in the parkway, and I don't think that's, I mean, the city did a good number. They gave us a new street. They even gave us an alley that's the best alley in town. And overwhelming. I mean, the city's really, or excuse me, the village is really doing an outstanding job to a taxpayer, because we needed an alley real bad. They didn't have to do it. They did a cement alley. It's outstanding. They gave us a new street on Stone Road. I paid for a tree. I mean, a tree died, so I paid, what is it called, when you sponsor a tree? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm trying to help the community. I make my building look nice. It's well lit at night. But from Iowa down to the hill, it's a disaster. And if the board would consider looking into it, I mean, I've talked with Lori a number of times, who does an outstanding job, and just want to follow up and get something done, because the abandoned, untitled, no licensed cars sitting all over the place, trucks can't get through. I deal in big motorhomes that are 40 feet long. They're 40,000 pounds. We can't get in. Got to go way around to get in, and it's hard driving. I mean, like I said, we got the street, we got the alleys, we got everything else, but there are certain individuals that just don't believe in compliancy, and I'm going to press the issue. Otherwise, I would like to get a license or a permit to have a junkyard in my front yard. I think it would
30
be
seconds.
Excuse me?
30 seconds left.
Okay,
Yeah.
that kind of
Oh,
covers
thank-
it.
yeah.
I don't mean to ramble.
Our Director of Community Development is here, and I'm sure he'll look into that this week.
Thank you. If you don't mind, if I come back, just follow up and
No, no problem.
be a regular thing
No
on my
problem, we'll be
agenda.
here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
No one else.
Okay, I do, I think the board got an email, Tim Allen, he's asked to read this in the public comments. On January 13th, around 1 PM, my wife and I brought our 7-year-old son to the sledding hill behind Jackson Middle School. As first run down, he went down the hill, took a turn to the east, went straight into the new retention pond to the east of the hill. When he hit the ice, he did a backflip and broke through the ice head first and head down, submerging his head under the water. I had to run down the hill and do an ice water rescue to get him out of the water. The water was up to my knee, and when I rescued him, luckily he was okay with some bruising on his back and now doesn't want to go sledding anymore, anytime soon. When I called that Saturday afternoon, it was very hard to get a hold of PD or even FD non-emergency. Busy signals or just straight to voicemail. Finally, one of the officers called me back and didn't really know how to handle the situation, with him just offering to put up some caution tape at the bottom of the hill. He then called back saying that he's not going to put up caution tape because there were other tracks of people sledding down that side into the retention pond. Monday, I called the village to explain what had happened on Saturday. The woman I spoke to, I'm sorry, I forgot her name, told me she was going to talk around and look into the situation. I had to call back on Wednesday after going back to the hill, seeing nothing was taken care of. She told me that after talking to Public Works and the risk management team, the village has decided not to do anything because putting up a temporary snow fence at the bottom of the hill would be too dangerous and might cause more injury. I asked about a fence at the top of the hill to prevent people from going down the hill towards the retention pond, and her response was probably not, because there's a parking lot and a baseball field there. The reason for this email, and I apologize for the email and not being there, is because I got called into work. But I think there's a huge hazard at the sledding hill due to my son going through the ice, and now the village and department heads know this hazard. I hope this issue can and will be taken care of. And just for the record, we have discussed this, and there are signs that are going to be getting made there, but there's certain things we can and can't do on the hill right now, so. But it is being addressed, and hopefully will be addressed soon. Okay. Going to 6 proclamations, I don't believe we have any. We'll go on to item 7 is a presentation, the Fun Commission Holiday Decoration Award presentation. And we have ladies from the Fun Commission.
Figure out how to do this.
We're working on it, so. I'm Mary from the Fun Commission.
And I'm Leslie Allison, CI with the Fun Commission. Thank you.
What do we hit this down here?
Sorry. I'm a Mac.
I have pictures.
Hey, Greg? Thank you.
There we go.
Where am I going? Slideshow. There we go.
Perfect. Thank you. So every year, we do our Halloween decoration awards. This year, we had 4 awards, 2 for traditional and 2 for most jolly. I said holiday. Okay. So anyway, moving right along. Let's see. How do I go to the next one? So one of our winners for Most Jolly is 703 South Yale, the Wieland Home. And you can't see it real well on this picture, so we'll go to the next one. We have the Nightmare before Christmas, who was singing Christmas carols. Up on those front steps is the largest ceramic Christmas tree we ever had seen. It was really something to see, and you can see the Santa and the sleigh and the tree. They really went all out, and definitely worthy of being jolly. So congratulations to the Whelan family, and they are going to get a $25 gift card to Crazy Pour. So thank you from Crazy Pour. Next up is for Most Jolly is 509 North Ellsworth, and that is Teresa O'Hara, and she is here tonight to accept her award. A little backstory on this. Teresa and her husband decorate every year. This year, he had surgery, so he was unable to do the awards. So Teresa went and did the decorations on her own. And being 68 years old, she decided that this was going to be the last year that they were going to be decorating, because that was a lot of hard work. But now that she won this award, she said she might reconsider, given that, she's getting some kudos on that. So congratulations. And and we have a $25 gift card to Supreme Lobster for you and your husband.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Next up is our first traditional award. And I mean, just look at this Christmas tree. There, if you can tell in that first slide on the left-hand side, that would be our Commissioner Carla Graff standing in front of that tree, way down, like in the first inch of it. That's how big that tree is. So, quite a feat, and it's right there off of Jackson as you're coming into Villa Park. We couldn't have been more thrilled to have that tree as one of our awards this year. And in addition, Richard Kumek is here to accept the award. And as it turns out, 15 years ago or so, he was doing these awards as a member of the Pride Commission. So there you go, full circle. If you'd like to come up, Richard, feel free.
We have your award is from Farm Fresh Christmas Tree. Very good. And on the back is just the Village of Villa Park. Thanks you for bringing joy and beauty to the village this holiday season. Very good. It was beautiful. And if you want me to put your name on it. Yeah, don't worry. Here is his gift card.
And we have a gift card for you, $25 gift card from GTO Automotive Mufflers and Brakes. Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
I have a landscape service that brings in a high lift.
Okay.
And those are 1,000 LED lights on it. And his secret is he doesn't go around, he goes up and down. Oh. So that you get this kind of uniform filming. But Hosanna was on the commission with me.
Yes, I remember.
Those were hard days we would drive around
Well,
the village.
you're right.
I give the fun group kudos for doing the legwork of going around the village to find all the homes and decorations. So thank you. So much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And then we have one more for traditional. And this traditional beauty is located at 546 South Oakland. It reminded me of too many years ago going to my grandmother's house for Christmas. Just beautiful. There is a handmade sled just outside the front door that welcomes you. And it was just warm and cozy, and we really thought that this was worthy of winning the prize. And so, don't you dare.
Okay, when we got this gift card, I asked the folks how to pronounce it, so I told them to tune in and see how I would butcher their name. It's the Moilacateo Mexican Grill, and it's on St. Charles. It's right next to McDonald's in that little strip mall. There's a lovely little place to sit and eat your food.
And they serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes, they're open, like, I asked them their hours, and it was da-da-da-da-da-da, it was like, it'd be easier to find out when you were closed than when you were open. That's,
Mocha Head Day.
that's for them, so we'll get these too, for the people that didn't make it today, we'll get them their awards and their gift cards.
So yes, we'd just like to say thank you to all of the wonderful residents of Villa Park that participated in this contest, and those that nominated the houses. We had quite a few houses to go by, so that was really cool this year. And thank you to the businesses for contributing these nice little gift cards for the residents too. It's keeping shop local, which is really important, and yeah, thank you. And then just a couple of quick announcements. We have our first fun meeting tomorrow at 5:30 up here on the second floor. The public is welcome to come. It is going to be our event planning meeting. So if you have ideas or comments, come join us. We will have pizza. And if you can't make it, feel free to reach out to us at prideinvillapark.com. Also, you can listen to our podcast now. If you go to YouTube and look up the Villa Park or Village of Villa Park Fun Commission, our meetings tend to be quite entertaining. So that's all I'm going to say. So feel free to tune in if you can't join us, and definitely reach out to us with any comments or ideas. And we're always looking for more volunteers. We have a lot of stuff on our agenda this year, so feel free to reach out. We could use another commissioner. We could use another junior commissioner. So again, hope to hear from you guys soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
You guys will all see up in front of your area that we gave you a 2004 antidepressant kit. So hopefully you can open it up and just get a little giggle. It's all in there. It's all you need for a happy 2004. Thank you.
And Mary handmade all of those.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mary. Okay, item 8, we have no appointments to commissions. Item 9 is our consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of January 8th, 2024 Committee of the Whole and the Village Board of Trustees meeting, and bill listings from the weeks of January 8th for $17,366.84 and $326,149.61. January 15th, 2024 for $90,136.86 and $309,731.22 for a total amount of $743,384.53. And item C is acceptance of the minutes from January 6th coffee with the board. And the reason for each week being two separate items are, one is for calendar year 2023, the other is calendar year 2024, in case there was any questions. Okay, we have a motion for the consent agenda. Trustee Kozart?
Make the motion.
You have a second? Trustee Patrick? Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, items 10, 11, and 12, we have no new ordinances. Item 12A is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, waiving bid and approving the purchase of a powered ambulance cot and load system in an amount of $61,450.11. Major Harling.
The following resolution authorizes the village manager to execute a purchase order to obtain the ambulance Power Pro 2 powered ambulance cot and load system from Stryker Medical in the amount of $61,450.11 to be installed on the rechassied medic unit that is currently in production. Staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution?
I'd
Trustee Patrick?
like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
Trustee Kozar, questions or comments? Trustee Alfano.
I just have a few questions for Chief Stapleton, if he wouldn't mind. And these just come from some residents, just to get some clarity and just so you know where they're coming from. Do we already have something like this that does the job already? And
Correct.
what's the difference between what we're being asked for now?
Sure.
and
So
what-
all three of our ambulances have this power load system. And the recommended service life is 7 to 10 years. We're going to look to trade this one in 2 years early,
Okay,
but with that, we get a $10,000 trade-in. They're going to waive the $1,800 install fee, and we're going to put it on the same ambulance, the new one that we're getting. And now our next ambulance that we get, we'll have to take that one past the recommended service life, because we're not going to buy a new one, put it on the ambulance just to have it take off a year later.
sure.
So those are the main reasons.
Okay. And then I think this was more just an inquiry and not a
Oh,
decision
sure.
question.
Absolutely.
How many calls do you normally go on where equipment like this is needed?
We run 3,400 calls a year, 3,400 calls, 75% of them are EMS. So this is used multiple times a day.
Okay,
And this is pretty much the standard on all ambulances. What it does is it reduces the risk of injury.
sure.
This new cot is actually an upgrade from what our current one are that they're going to be getting rid of. This one can carry more weight. It's got ground lights. It has a better locking system with the wheels. If you ever seen the ambulance when they go to lock a wheel and it's all over, we only have, minimum number of people on an ambulance call. So any technology helps.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the
Absolutely.
clarification.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, Clerk Kornecki.
Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Thank you, Chief. Okay, item B is a resolution authorizing the expansion of the scope of work for the Lions Park Recreation Center project related to the installation of the west storm line improvements and the approval of related change orders for the construction of said improvements, total amount of $95,514. Major Harling.
Staff recommends approval of the change order number 3 for work that includes replacing approximately 420 feet of existing 6-inch storm line and structures with new 12-inch storm lines and structures, constructing approximately 150 feet of retaining wall so that the existing grading can be revised to provide positive drainage away from the adjacent properties on Euclid to reduce existing flooding concerns. This came up during the development of the property, and especially in the planning and zoning discussion, and was required, made conditional approval for the special use by the Planning and Zoning Commission. We look to use, if possible, stormwater or utility tax funds for this because it would be a eligible expense. The reason why we're bringing this forward separate from the contingency reserve, which we can take project by project, is that this was not in the scope as handed to WB Olson when they got the project. So this is something that's necessary, it protects the residents that have had a problem on that property for decades, and that's why we're bringing it forward separate from the rest of the the recreation center project. And with that, I'll,
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Alfano? Okay,
Yes.
questions or comments? Trustee Patrick?
Just one quick question. The grading where the old basketball court used to be is higher than where the residents are, is that correct? And so is this going to be on that west side in between that area?
yes, I'm going to ask Mike Guerra to answer that question, but generally, yes.
To answer your question, Trustee Patrick, correct. Overall, that previous site used to be like 3 feet higher. Obviously, with the building of the new building, the facility, we're leveling that off, taking it closer to the edge. That's why we wanted to upgrade that storm sewer system at this time to provide enhanced drainage to that location. So it's going along. We used to have a small 6-inch running along the western property line, and then if there's that little L shape, we have a little 6-inch running the other direction. We kept that in line, but we upsized it to a 12-inch to accommodate, to make sure we have additional storage underground and additional drainage. And then the retaining walls to help, now that that elevation difference is close to the property line, that provides a little bit easier for maintenance and maintaining of those ditches and piping.
Thank you.
Is it tie into then Wildwood, or is that tie into Euclid?
Correct. The existing 6-inch tied into the back of a storm catch basin on Wildwood.
Okay.
And we kept that same connection. So it is a separate connection then from the new connection that's being made with the rec center. So that line is not tying into the overall drainage of the building. They're still two separate, so that is just for yard drainage essentially. And additionally, we ran it farther, well, I think we kept it the same, but ran it a little bit farther along that western property. So if enhancements to the ball field are needed or made, we have the ability to also have a drainage system to tie into. But this system is not tying into the new drainage system with the Lions Rec Community Center, where it has the underground the pervious pavers and drain pipes associated with the building. So those two systems are separate, so building water would not go into this system.
Okay, good, thank you. Trustee Alfano?
I did have one question about what an unsized storm sewer is. In the memo, it says that it's going to include an unsized storm sewer. Can you just explain what that means?
I probably meant to say undersized.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know what
I
an
apologize.
unsized is. So
There's
an
a
undersized?
couple of us that were working on it, so
Okay.
I probably meant to say undersized. So
Got it.
The 6-inch was a little undersized that was put in at the time, was capable, but we want to upsize it to be a larger storm sewer.
So it's going to go from 6-inch to
It's just 12-inch.
12-inch, okay. And then I do have one other question, and Manager Harline, this might be for you. You said that this is coming from the wastewater and utility tax fund?
That's what we're looking to do, because we were looking at, when we were building this project, to find other sources besides the general fund to take care of some of the needs of the project, because after we found out it was going to go over the original allotted amount from the bond and the grant. So we're looking into, I think this will be eligible for that
Okay.
process.
Correct. We have stormwater, the stormwater fund, that's the stormwater fund is as well.
Yeah.
suitable.
So one of those two, as
So if
opposed
it
to general
doesn't
fund.
qualify under the wastewater, it'd be stormwater?
Yeah. We're keeping it out of the general fund so that,
Okay. Thank you.
thanks.
Just one more.
Trustee Cordova?
We had a gentleman here earlier on last year, when I got on, and he was right behind the home plate over there. He had a lot of issues with his fence sinking because that water was there. This will cover that as far as the water moving away from there, or is it going to go backwards this way as well? So will it go northwest up until essentially the ball field?
So we don't go all the way back to that back property corner. So we run, I think, if I remember right, kind of near where the fence line ends currently with the baseball field. But since the baseball field is not included in this scope of work for the rec center, I think that's in a potential future phase. Greg or Director Gola can correct me. But what this would be able to do is be able to provide a tie-in point. So if we do enhancements, we put in under drains, some of the items that we put in at the High Ridge Field with those, then they have a tie-in point to tie in. So this kind of covers the limits of what we're improving at this location now, and kind of stops just towards the baseball field.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, Clerk Kornecki.
Okay, trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
and President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, item C is a resolution confirming approval of the agreement with Flock Group, Inc. for the installation and maintenance of additional license plate reader cameras. Manager Harlan.
The resolution authorizes the village manager to enter into a governmental agency agreement with Flock Group, Inc. to purchase and maintain license plate reader LPR cameras to assist the Villa Park Police Department in their work. The board previously approved entering into an agreement with Flock, but the changes required by the company were of substantial enough in nature that staff brought the agreement back for approval. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. The main sticking point was how much liability they were willing to accept. We wanted them to go to the lengths of the amount of their insurance. They pushed back. They are pretty much the only company that offers this. The liability is actually rather small, and we believe that that will be adequate. And it is become a vital part of the work that the department is doing, and especially catching cars coming through town that are stolen. So we are asking you to basically reauthorize this with a lower liability coverage amount.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that
Second.
motion.
Trustee Kozar?
Second.
Questions or comments? Okay. Trustee Patrick?
Just really quick, if I could, Chief, if you could just address the public one more time and just let everybody know the importance of Flock cameras, kind of what they do and why they're important in Villa Park.
Absolutely, excellent question. It's probably one of the most important technologies come along since DNA evidence, according to some police administrators. One other chief says it's definitely a game changer. It allows us to see trouble to enter our town before it gets here. There's Flock cameras in many different communities. So if somebody's heading westbound on the 290 and they pick up a stolen vehicle, or let's say a suspect in a serious crime, we've been able to stop crime even before it happened, and this just happened within the past 2 weeks. We had an armed robbery about to take place at our shell, and one of our officers had noticed on a Flock camera that vehicle did an armed robbery in another community, was heading our way, and we intercepted that vehicle, and then with the help of Elmhurst and Lombard, we were able to take both subjects in custody. I can't stress enough how important this technology is. It helps keep our communities safe.
Thank you, Chief.
Trustee Kozar?
Actually, Chief, beat me to it. I know that those were used a couple weeks ago in that confrontation before the robbery, so this is an important piece of equipment. I mean, it's worthy of our support, and it's great to have it in Villa Park, so.
Yeah, since September of 2021, we've had well over 220 different Flock hits that we've been addressing. Some of them of a lower nature, where it's a suspended driver or revoked driver, but definitely of the more serious nature. And our officers, using their discretion, try and find some reason to pull that vehicle over, unless, of course, it happens to be a stolen vehicle. And we've recovered numerous stolen vehicles.
Hey, Trustee Alfano?
So just in case we have residents that are tuning in today that might not have heard exactly how the Flock camera works, can you just do a very basic general, this is how it works when we're talking about being able to identify them and identify identify somebody who's coming in or a car that's coming in?
Absolutely. Every morning, there's what's called a hot list that gets downloaded from the Illinois State Police, which has stolen vehicles, problematic vehicles, anything that's wrong with the registration and/or the driver. And that gets downloaded into a system of Flock cameras. We have 7 currently throughout the town. Through a retail grant, we're looking to add more, and then also have a mobile Flock camera. It's just picks up vehicles and the likeness of the vehicle, the color of the vehicle, or in the make of the vehicle. So if somebody has committed a crime in our town, we can enter that information into the Flock system, and then that vehicle gets spotted, it'll get picked up by that Flock camera in real time. I think there's like a 7-second delay. So it is excellent technology. It has assisted us in many different captures of problematic people.
And that does allow you to collaborate with other
Yes.
officers in the area. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Clerk Kornecki?
Okay, trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
No.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, thanks, Chief. Okay, item 14 is unfinished business. The Hawthorne Ecoterra project presentation. Village staff is seeking direction on proceeding with drafting a restated and amended redevelopment agreement, an extension of the PUD zoning designation. And Director McLaughlin, did you want to start? Do you want to
I
go
think
right
he's trying to
to?
get their
Okay.
presentation up. Basically, recent I'm sorry, President Kazan, if you had, recent meeting, we've sort of come to the conclusion that we are currently in an impasse. If the direction that staff has been given is not to approve an RDA unless there's 100% proof of financing, the Hawthorne Group cannot produce 100% proof of financing without getting an RDA before that, so that they can get the full proof that they have that they have full rights to the property, because currently there's a mortgage on it. Mortgage can't be released without an RDA. So at this point, we've invited the Hawthorne staff to explain where they're at with their project, why they need a new RDA to proceed, and then from there, staff is just seeking direction as to whether or not the Board of Trustees is willing to grant the staff the leeway to form a new RDA that does not immediately have the full financing 100% approved. This will also likely mean that we would need an extension on the PUD zoning designation, or the extension past the June deadline, June 12th or 14th, but that's it.
Okay, thank you.
I think they're ready to. But can he? Okay. No,
Thank you very much. I know I'm entering the lion's den, but I do hope to come out alive. The purpose of this short presentation is hopefully to convince the board the need for the RDA amendment approval. The project Ecoterra, it's a signature project for us, and it is for a company, Hawthorne, that has been in business for 40 years. This is our 40th year. How do I think a bit of history is called for, so let's recall the events as they happened. We closed on the project on September 30th, 2021. The construction senior lender was Apollo Equity Capital, and they made a mortgage of $106 million and recorded the mortgage. We had CPACE equity of about $32 million, and then we had some TIF bonds, and then we had our equity. That's how we closed on the project. And then events started to unfold. We had a default by senior lender. He recorded a $106 million mortgage on September 30th with our closing. Did not fund for 6 months. He declared default in 2022. We sued the senior lender for release of mortgage because that was really preventing us from going anywhere to seek alternate financing. And the mortgage was released in March of 2022. Events, let's recall the events post the senior lender default. We closed on the bridge loan somewhere around March 22, and we paid for partially permit fees. We completed the demolition. We finished the parking lot, and we still have $26.8 million sitting in escrow, which is CPACE money, which is our you can, call it as secondary financing or our equity money sitting in escrow. We have incurred a total of $18 million in expenses on the property so far, which includes almost $4 million in interest that we have paid so far on the CPACE money, plus other expenses, architectural fees, engineering fees, permits, and so on and so forth. And we were aware of the need for the village to get access to its property. So in view of the fact that there was an error committed at closing, which the senior lender was unwilling to give in, you can call it whatever, Scrivener's errors or whatever it is, but he was unwilling to give up that collateral once he has taken it as collateral until we paid him substantial sums. So the village came up with a second best option, which was to grant a permanent easement right to the parking lot, in which we granted in August 2023. Our efforts on financing so far, we had LOIs from 3 financial institutions, and also commitment letter from 1 financial institution, and we had a bridge loan commitment secured in March 23. These were all in a series of actions toward the end of 2022. And the bridge financing was derailed due to incorrect statement by the village in May 2023. That got derailed. And Hawthorne has been working with the village to amend the RDA since May of 2023. We secured an LOI for a bridge loan with a closing date of January 15, 2023. That also could not happen because we could not get the RDA amendment approved. And we submitted for HUD, finally, for Merchant Capital, through Merchant Capital of Indiana, for construction financing in May, June 2023. And we had a concept meeting with HUD on August 1st. And we received an invitation for pre-application in August 2023. Now, obviously you've been wondering, what has been happening over these past 18 months or so, and what is the reason for all these delays? I think the reasons are well known for you to look around and hear the news and read the papers. We had tremendous cost increases due to tremendous inflation, huge interest rate hike, you're familiar with that, supply chain disruptions, because and lead time of materials and components. For instance, concrete was being quoted for delivery in 15 months, and electrical switchgear was 18 months away, etc., etc. All these problems were there over last year. Things are improving today. The rates are coming down, which is a very positive sign. And lenders are getting back into the market. So our timetable is like this. We have resubmitted the HUD package, and in February 24, we'll have another meeting with HUD, or Merchants Capital, and the invitation for detailed application we expect to receive in April. And in June, we expect to get a commitment from HUD, and probably closing in August 2024. That's our tentative timeline right now with HUD. Why should you approve it now? Delay regarding RDA approval has affected the HUD timeline and every timeline. We would have been able to release the village parcel much earlier if we had closed on the bridge loan, which we missed 2 opportunities, one in March of last year and again the second one in January of this year. If you could close on the bridge loan, which we cannot do without an RDA approval because we don't have zoning. So until RDA is approved, we cannot take the next step. The this has affected our timeline, and PUD extension is needed to meet the HUD timeline. You know, we may be able to close before the PUD expiry, but we want to be safe. We still don't have any word on, you know, when the RDA will be approved, so I don't know how to give a timeline. The project is an iconic project for the village. It's a shovel-ready project. It will be the first project in the area of net zero green construction. This will be the largest net zero green project with the passive house features in the entire country. This will put the village of Villa Park on the map as the most progressive, environmentally conscious village in the country. So this is not a project just for Hawthorne. This is a project for Villa Park. This is additionally, with almost $18 million of our money on the line, we are not about to quit. It's, you know, we are not going to walk away from that kind of investment, and we are going to hang on here tight until this happens. Third is that development of this project will absolutely prompt other projects in the area, and that whole area can be revitalized if this project takes off. This is the key to that area taking off. So this is the reason why you should approve the RDA amendment so that we can move forward. The first step is we'll close on a bridge loan and release the village parcel to the village. Number one, pay off whatever dues are there in terms of permit fees, etc., pay it off through the bridge loan, then proceed to the construction loan closing through HUD. So we have a path, and we cannot do it without the village's cooperation and approval. The current bridge loan has got a deadline extension only up till January 31. We don't have an extension beyond that, so I cannot tell you what will happen in February. But it is critical that the village takes a note of these things, and in view of the fact that this is a fantastic project, and with our huge investment on the line, you bet we will not walk away. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer. And by the way, I want to introduce Brian Ebel here, who is our Chief Commercial Officer. Besides working in the real estate area, he has consulted for Apple and Microsoft and companies like that. Whenever a ship is off course, he always rights the ship. So we are here. You know, any questions you may have in the future, he will be happy to be part of the team and answer you.
Sure, yeah, just come up. Yeah.
First, sorry, I'm so casual. I was at a PR event today, and I just didn't get back in time. What he said about the village, I just want to already speak to, because I'm not sure if you're aware, part of the work I've done with the corporations I've worked for. I worked directly with Steve Jobs. I've worked directly with Michael Dell, and part of it is to build their company, their brand, their processes, and how we do things. I don't know if you're aware, but you can go to, we did a whole new website, but on that site, the Villa Park project's getting national attention in the media. We've been on TV, we've been on radio, and we've been in print. We're in print all the way to Arizona, where your village's name is being spoke to. So he's right when he says we're not taking this lightly. That's why I was brought on. Just 2 weeks here running, I've been asked to speak at 2 investor events, averaging about 400 people an event. And on your Villa Park, not that we're looking for investors, we talked about it and what it is truly the largest net zero passive house development in the nation. This is a lot of what the press is focusing on. And with the whole climate change, there's a whole new living of people that want to be luxury living, but they want their lifestyle to be eco-friendly. And so you're going to be the largest in the country. There's others that are working on them, but nowhere near this size. And I just think you should know that. And if you go to our website and you look up this project in Villa Park on the profile page, it's not all about the building. Over 2/3 of that page is about the village and the garden village, and we put pictures up of just what it would be like to live here. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. I know we talk numbers and everything, but we are working, and I'm specifically brought on board to make that happen. So I look forward to working with all of you, and feel free to reach out. But my job is to not just make the project look good, but make this relationship, you know, nothing's worse than having the great project in a town that hates you. And just a little about real estate. I did work at Miglin Beitler for many years, so the big tower in Oak Brook was mine, and I worked closely with them and all their, consulted with them and all their dealings. So, thank you, sorry.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Start with questions. Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. I have been supportive of this project from the very beginning. I agree with what you said. I do believe that this is a good project for Villa Park. It's unfortunate that we are here at this point today and what has led up to this point today. So a couple of questions that I have for you is that if we can, as a board, approve a new RDA and your HUD application is approved and you get the construction loan, what is your timetable for construction and completion of the project? And then also, are you still planning on being LEED Platinum certification?
Yeah, okay. Couple of things. We have given the construction timeline to the village, and construction timeline is 2 years to complete the construction. Number two, the certifications we are getting are well beyond Platinum LEED. Platinum LEED only focuses on energy efficiency. We are a lot more than that because we follow National Green Building Standards, Green Gold certification, net zero, which is really not LEED Platinum's goal. And finally, a tremendous amount of passive house features, which means that it takes into account thermal comfort, not just energy efficiency, but thermal comfort and indoor air quality. I can safely say that our project will boast of the highest indoor air quality of any project in the area, especially important in view of the COVID situation, because we have a continuous supply of fresh air and no stale air ever remains in the apartment. It's continuously being booted out.
And with the HUD application, it will allow low-income residents the opportunity to live in an establishment like this as well. Is that correct?
We have completely revamped our original thinking with respect to affordable housing requirement. First of all, affordable housing is not Section 8. It's only meant to be Section 42. Section 42 is for people who all have jobs, like our policemen, our teachers, our nurses who have a job but can't afford to pay the rent in an apartment. So we were looking at that, Section 42 housing, and we cut it down drastically from our original thinking of 20% now down to 10% or even less. And even this percentage is notional, because HUD at one time looked at this project for a market rate facility and rejected it. So in order to kind of keep us in the good books of HUD, we are giving a notional 10% as Section 42 housing.
Thank you.
Just goes there.
So just to clarify, we don't hate you. We like you. But we're trying to find a solution that works for our people, and a solution when you drive down Ardmore that you're not seeing what you're seeing. I know this has not gone the way that anybody wanted it to go. This is a remnant of the last administration, the last manager, and last village attorney. So we are trying to forge a new path and like I said, making something that works for our people. We had talked at one point, you and I had thought I remembered you saying that HUD was your last resort. It has now become your only resort. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I think we, in terms of certainty of execution, HUD is there. So we went with HUD only because we can be certain of execution. There are others who may promise and rates go up, so we walk out of the market. We are not in the lending market anymore, and they come back when they wish, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have that problem with HUD. For instance, we were quoted interest rates as high as 14%. Yes, we got loan LOIs and commitments, but what good is it? 14%. At least HUD is reasonable, and they are always there. You can count on them.
You had commented that I think it was May of 2020, because of an error that Villa Park made, you were unable to get a bridge loan. Did I repeat that correctly?
Yes, sir.
What,
It's not 2020. I think it's 2023. Yes.
Okay. So tell me more about what happened there, how was the village culpable on that?
Yes, there was a PZR report, which the lenders usually require. And so when the lender asked for a PZR report, the village replied saying that we have lost the zoning and legal action pending, which was a very erroneous information to have given. Once the lender saw that the legal action was pending, he dropped us. But no legal action was pending.
Manager Harline, can you just, without, I don't want to start a debate or anything, but is that an accurate understanding of what had transpired? And you said 23?
Yes, sir.
22, it was in 23?
23.
So a lender sends out I don't know, Mark is the one who was sent the letter, but a lender sent out a zoning letter, basically checking to make sure that the zoning was in place on the piece of property. We sent out two responses. The first one said that the RDA was in breach and that there was pending legal action, and then we sent a second one out saying that the RDA was in breach.
Okay.
Which was truthful.
My understanding is that Ecoterra or Hawthorne is behind $100,000 for building permit fees as of March 1st. Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir.
Why haven't you paid?
We have been asking for closing on the bridge loan, and so that the RDA has to be, the steps are this: RDA has to be approved, we close on the bridge loan, we clear everything owed to the village, we deliver the property to the village, and then move on to the construction loan.
So you don't have liquid capital to the tune of $100,000?
That's not the point. Doing it in bits and pieces satisfies no one. It's not like you just cut $100,000 check, all of a sudden we have become good people. We not only have to cut the $100,000 check, we have to pay for the permits, all the permits. We got to make good on everything. So it's not like you can pick one piece and do it. So that's not how we want to operate. We want to clear all the problems in one stroke, pay the $100,000, pay all the remaining permit fees, deliver the property to the village. Now we go with a clean chit to HUD and say, okay, all these are taken care of.
Well, I don't think anybody would dispute the fact that we want everything fixed and everything moving along, but why not pay the obvious debt that you have? If it's $100,000, it seems like given the $18 million you've got invested in there, why linger that out unless you're kind of holding it hostage for a new redevelopment agreement or something like that rather than paying as you go and satisfying those certain things, you're holding it all together for one final resolution.
That's
how I perceive something like that.
No, there is nothing, and nobody can hold anybody hostage, that doesn't work these days. But
You don't have the 100,000 for the permit?
no, I never said that. I said we would like to take care of it all at once because we pay the 100,000. The next question will be, why don't you pay all the rest of the fees? It's not one thing.
Might be.
Yeah, so I'm saying, let's take care of everything. We will clear the deck completely.
If we give you this RDA.
Yes.
And if we don't give you this RDA, we should just kind of go pound sand with the money that you owe us, is that right?
No, I'm not saying anything like that, so that's...
That's how I hear all or nothing.
Well, that's not my word.
You have a bridge loan coming up on the 31st of this month?
Yes, sir.
There's a balloon payment of some sort due on the 31st?
Well, yes, the loan is due end of this month.
Okay. Are you behind on any payments on any of your loans?
No.
You're current on everything?
Yep.
Except for the money that you owe us?
Yes.
I don't have other questions at this time.
Okay. Trustee Cordova.
Dr. Vish, hello. Nice introduction. I haven't met you yet. We got voted on last year. We've had, since I've been on the board, I've met with 3 developers in town. This is the first time I've actually met you in person, so hello. I'm happy that the website was bought up, because there's a couple of questions I have. This is all I have, right? Can you tell me, because when I go to the website, I go to portfolio, I look at in project or in current jobs. There's 3 on there. One's Villa Park, which is not started, right? There's one at 203 Interstate Drive in Covington, Virginia, and the one in Honolulu. Can you tell me the update on all 3 of those, including Villa Park, and then the one in Covington, and then the one in Honolulu?
The one in, about Villa Park, and by the way, Trustee Kozar, if $100,000 will make you sign the RDA, that's pretty cheap. So, I don't look at it that way. So if that'll please you and, we can move forward, I'll be more than happy to do it. So that's not an issue at all. It's just that I want to clear the deck completely, so.
Would that be a quid pro quo?
No, I'm not saying that. It's not.
That's just what you said.
No, I'm saying if that will please you, I said.
Well, it would please me if you answered my trustee's question instead of directing it to me, but I'm happy to have this debate with you at a later time.
Okay, so about the Villa Park project, I did talk about it, Trustee Cordova. The Hawaii project is in the pipeline. We have not started construction yet, but it is a project. It's a very large project. It's a development of a resort in the island of Kauai, and we are working on it, and we hope to close during the first half of this year and start construction.
And then the property, it looks like it went up for auction on the 15th of December, just a couple of weeks ago, at 203 Interstate Drive.
Yeah, that was stopped. The auction was stopped.
All right, so I asked these questions because you have 3 upcoming projects.
Yes.
One is a pile of rubble in our town, right? Another one is going to be built out eventually. It said estimated 2024, no construction has started there. And the third one in Covington, Virginia is now foreclosed, right?
It's not foreclosed. No, the auction was stopped.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not foreclosed.
Yeah.
So neither of these 3 that are in your upcoming projects or your current projects are actually projects at all, correct?
What do you mean by that?
None of these 3 have anything going on all 3 of those properties, correct?
They're in different stages. I wouldn't say
What is this stage? The one here in Villa Park, what stage is that?
the stage is that RDA needs approval.
No, what state is that property at? It is a couple pieces of rubble, there's a fence that's kind of falling down every once in a while. That's what we have here. That's what we have here. That's what we look at when commuter trains go by. That's what they see. This is a black eye in Villa Park. When I look at the one in Covington and the one in Honolulu, it seems like there is a trend of you having these marquee projects that are nothing but rubble. How can I, as a new trustee, say, you know what, let me give you another chance, or let us give you another chance at this when you're directing us to the website and it looks great, but there's nothing there at any of these three places. I don't expect a response from you. I'm just letting you know how I feel. There's nothing here.
Nick, you want to respond to the fence issue? Nick?
Could you come up here and speak, please, so we can hear you?
You're going to talk about the fence?
Yes.
That's what you're going to talk about, the fence? I just said the fence looks like trash. That whole project looks like trash. Why? Because an RDA? Why haven't you guys started yet? I'm new here. Please inform me.
The RDA is really the hang-up right now.
What about 2 years ago or a year ago? Was the RDA hang up still?
No, back then we had some supply chain issues, interest rates hikes. They're only allowing so much yardage of concrete, and we had to pour the footing and foundation in pieces, and structurally it wouldn't have been done right. When you put a 7-story building on it, you don't want to play games with the foundation and the footings.
Nope.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm done. Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Alfano.
Good evening. I am also newly elected on the board, and Trustee Cordova, I also did look up what was going on, just like you did, and you had some of the same questions that I did when it came to the Honolulu project, when it came to the other project, and I did meet you when you were here in May, and I did hear that presentation because I was newly elected on the board at that point. But I am having a very difficult time because you have to understand my perspective. I was a resident first when I saw this project starting to develop, and now I'm here on the board, and I've heard it and I've seen it on both sides. And my perspective went from being pretty excited about this project to seeing what we have now and having to try to defend that. And it makes it much more complicated to defend what we have there and to make people, and to make my neighbors' excitement elevate when we are constantly having to come back to the conversation and come back to the table. And I haven't had any conversation with you other than when you came to the board the last time. So I'm not going to ask direct questions. I'm not going to grill you. I would say that we don't hate you. That is, I don't know that that is the right term. I would say that there's more frustration and trying to get to a basis of understanding. But I'm really trying to understand and trying to be convinced why we should say yes tonight. And I'm not sure that I've heard what I need to hear for that. But thank you for coming tonight, and I'm still listening, and I'm still here for whatever else you'd like to say.
Can I respond?
Sure, go ahead. Sure.
Appreciate your consideration, but when you take 9 months to approve an RDA and do an analysis by paralysis and waste our resources on paying wasteful interest to the bank instead of moving forward, what does the developer do? How much can he put up with? The frustration is incredible on our side. No village has taken 9 months to approve an RDA. You know, if they had problems with it, they could have walked away from it a long time ago. Dragging for 9 months is not being fair to the developer. That's what is the frustration from our side.
Trustee Corcoran.
Are we going to make a decision on this tonight?
We'll hopefully do.
Because
So if I can add
Go ahead.
something to kind of assist the conversation. As the village has been evaluating the potential for an amended and restated RDA, one of the components that we've heard from the board consistently is that there needed to be confirmation that there was financing to support the development of the project. I would like the developer to present the numbers with respect to the financing and the costs of the project so that the board can understand what they're looking to do right now. Because when we had a conversation regarding the numbers of this project, which has changed over the last 9 months, their avenues of financing has changed. So at this stage, they're proposing certain financing, and I would like the developer to present those numbers here.
How many times do you want me to present? It has been presented to the village.
Well, we'd like to see it tonight, as Attorney Wolf has said. Exactly right now, what is your proposed financing?
Like
total project, and then which part is going to be?
Go ahead.
If I may speak to my perspective on this quickly, I think I'd like to see this project get done. I mean, I think that if we can make this happen, this is a better option than going back to the drawing board with another developer. We want to see change there. We want to see something put in there. The skepticism is more just, I'd like to see you guys convince me that you can get it done, that I'd want to see this project happen, but it has a troubled past, and so that's what I'm looking to see more than anything, is some proof of, again, financing coming down the pipe, the new numbers, that we're not wasting our time here, and that there is a future of this project, and not that we shouldn't be, trying to go in a different direction. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. So going back to Attorney Wolf's question, exactly how much is each portion of your financing? If you could tell, because I don't think the board is aware of the entire cost of the project and how each part is going to get paid.
I don't have the exact numbers with me because Kritika is not here. She's our finance specialist. But just in broad terms, I can tell you, somewhere around $75 million is the HUD loan, and about $30 million is the PACE amount, and we have another $18 million already spent, and if any additional equity that will be needed at closing, because we have to come up with some 1 year of operating reserves, etc., anything required by HUD, we will provide that at the time of closing through additional equity to the tune of $5 to $7 million.
And where's it equity coming from?
Well, from our, high net worth individuals. I mean, we have come up with 18 million. We can certainly come up with another 7.
Okay.
So with respect to the PACE loan, though, just for clarification, you said there was $30 million, but what's available to you under that for purposes of financing that project? I thought you said
28.
Nick, go ahead. President Kazan, if I could ask. If I could ask. So the current mortgage on the property that is, which includes the part that was to be transferred to the village, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3
million, yes.
And you can raise $6 million with equity, but it has to be after what point? I mean, you can get $6 million in investment at a later point, but not now.
Not now, because we have to show to our investors also that, yes, we are making progress. We have paid the fees to the village. We don't owe anything to the village. And we have,
Let me clarify one thing, if I may, President. So the village, you owe the village $100,000 on past,
right,
what was in the original RDA, and what we have talked about in the RDA since then has been that all the rest of the building
Correct.
permit would be not due until the building the building plans were reapproved. Building plans have to be reapproved because the stamp has expired on the architect who or the engineer that submitted them. So you don't only owe this village $100,000.
Correct.
The choice to put the rest of it, the village chooses not to ask for any of the rest of it until we have actually approved a building plan. That's what we have said during the RDA negotiation, just to clear that up.
Yeah, our architect sent his new stamp, but I think you want his stamp on the drawings, and, his new license, which expires the end of 2024, is not adequate from the village's perspective, as I understand. Am I correct?
We want a set of stamped plans.
Set,
yes.
Nick, did you talk to Jake about that? Okay. So he has sent the PDF over. We'll submit the plans to you with his seal on each sheet.
So that's just one of the things. And then, yes, you have submitted, we have been at this for 9 months, and 9 painful months, because there have been different attempts at different financing, and I'm not going to go through them here because I don't know what you would want to share. It's your project. And, we tried to treat everybody with respect in your organization. I think most of the time you tried to treat our staff with respect, but there is nothing in our makeup that would want us to cause paralysis by analysis of this project. We're here to try and move it forward. The thing that we are asking, the question here, the main question here is, does the village want to pursue an amended and restated RDA with Hawthorne in accordance with the financial parameters and the scope of a project as presented by Hawthorne, understanding that the project timeline will require a zoning extension, and that at this time, you still have to get the $75 million worth of financing from HUD, which, although you believe is imminent, and that you have that you have been led to believe that this will easily be approved, is not actually in your hands right now. Is that about?
That's correct.
Okay. I'd also like to bring up, too, that there was an RDA that had been in effect originally, and Hawthorne was in violation of that RDA. So, this is not all on the village. Village, like we have always said, and the board has shown tonight, we want to see this project go. This would help you guys. It would tremendously help Villa Park. We do not want this just to lay there, but it has been dormant for a while. So, past is past. Any other questions from the board or comments?
I just want to clarify that whole plans and stamp thing. So you have new stamp plans that you have already sent over? The way you phrased it made it sound like you just took a picture of the stamp.
No, we have the stamp drawings in the PDF, have to send them to the printer, you get 2 sets printed out for you.
Okay, but that's not what you sent, you're saying.
I said we have the
You have stamped plans.
is what I said.
Okay.
What we received was a copy of the new stamp, but not on a set of plans.
Just a copy of the stamp.
Trustee Patrick?
Thank you. As you had mentioned earlier about the significance of a project like this gaining national attention, I do think that this project does exactly that. I think it is important. I think it not only puts Villa Park on the map, but it puts DuPage County and the state of Illinois on the map. There are not a lot of these projects that are out there, and you're saying that this is going to be one of the firsts. And this is not only trending, but I also believe that moving forward, this is the way that we have to start thinking about developing. It's essential for our times right now. I am of the mindset that I would like to look at what we can do to create a new RDA. But again, I think there are some things in here that we would like to make sure that are guaranteed. It has been said that it has been a vacant lot with just a fence that hardly stays up sometimes. It is an eyesore. And a metro station is one of the key hubs of any municipality that a metro runs through. And unfortunately, right now, the reputation that Villa Park has is seeing this unfinished project here. I do believe that a project of this magnitude, once it's completed, will not only be beneficial for our community, but also boost economic development within that area as well. I would like to see this move forward, but I think that we need to find some more assurances. I think we need to know about what, I understand that you want to eliminate all your debts in one clean stroke, but I think we need to talk about more about what we could do to meet halfway. This would be a very beneficial project to Villa Park. I would hate to see it extended even longer, or even worse, get scrapped, which then it would take even more time for that property to be developed and benefit the village of Villa Park. I would like to see this go through if we can, but again, I want to see some assurances that the rest of our board has brought up.
What I'd like to have Director McLaughlin, if do you have any comments you'd like to make at all? And
Any questions the board would like?
Okay.
Nothing overarching.
Okay. Trustee Corkery.
Do we stand to lose anything with the new RDA besides time? Are we giving anything up if we decide to approve it?
Attorney Wolf and I have negotiated different terms in the revised RDA. It will be different than the existing one or the amended one, which is what we're currently operating on. As we've noted, there's multiple payments over the course of 5 years. That's a lump sum at building permit, traditionally how most developments happened. And there is some language on construction schedule, timing, some of the things that were missing from the first two as well to keep this thing actually on track, and the ability for remedy.
In addition, the original RDA related to certain bonds that were issued for the project, and the timeline of the project as it is proposed today implicates the repayment of those bonds. So the duration with the redevelopment project area and the expiration date doesn't allow for appropriate payment of those bonds. So although the village did not put forth its own money or its taxes to pay those bonds, it's coming from the revenues generated by the project. The amount of time that revenues could potentially be generated has been impacted and will impact the payment of those bonds. So we don't know for certain whether that will affect the village's credit.
Can I address that?
Sure.
I'm just telling you what our attorney says. So again, I'm not an attorney, but our attorney's thinking is that the village is not on the hook financially for the bond. Of course, reputation-wise, it can have an effect if the bonds go into default for any reason. It's another reason why this project should be supported and we move forward. The sooner we generate the increments, the better it is for everybody, including the bondholders and the village. Whereas if the bonds go into default, the village is not on the hook financially because it's a revenue bond and not a GO bond. Reputation is one thing to keep in mind. So that's one reason why I say, let's cooperate and make this happen. And, if you wanted to have any meeting with our attorney and the underwriter for the bond, etc., I've been sending emails saying whenever you are ready, we'll be happy to arrange anything to assuage your concerns.
Have you discussed that? I know the last time we met, you were going to see about changing the schedule on the repayment of the bonds. Have you done that?
No, it's not changing the schedule on the repayment of the bonds, but essentially the village gave me the task that the the bonds have to be repaid within their remaining useful life of the bonds. And that's how we did the projections. And so there are a couple of options. One is extension, the other is meeting within the remaining useful life. And in order for that to happen, the sooner we start, the better it is. I mean, if we had done something last year, by now we would be 1 year into it by now. But again, no point in talking about the past. At least let's get started now so that the increments, the soonest time the increments start falling into the pot for repayment of the bond.
Trustee Patrick?
Director McLaughlin, in your opinion as a community development director, do you think that it is possible for the board to give approval to create a new RDA that would work for the village and this project, but reduce or minimize our risks?
There is, and that's what staff has been working on for essentially the last 9 months. It's the backup documents that they have not been able to produce to our needs to support and me to say, staff recommends this RDA. That's where we are, and that's the impasse the manager has spoken about.
And if I could be more precise, earlier, our understanding of what the board had told us is that you wanted to have full proof of financing. If you guys are willing to waive that piece, then we can come up with an RDA and we can find some termination language in case they don't meet deadlines. And there are other, if there are other contingencies or other things that you would like to see in that, but I just want to make something clear, is that at one point there was a chance that we were going to go for 20% HUD, 20% low LMI housing with a different structure. So, I mean, there have been 4 or 5 different proposals come through, and that is very important in how it has taken this long,
So, as a member of the board, and I guess I can speak for the board as well, is that we heavily rely on staff's expertise in these areas to give us. So you said that board's direction was that we wanted proof of financing.
Right.
Okay. However, what I'm asking you and Director McLaughlin is, with your expertise in this, do you find that a necessary element of an RDA for us to mitigate our risks moving forward with this? Or is that something that is acceptable or common practice that we could do to make this project move forward?
Sure. Common practice is that the financing is not locked up. It's that the RDA is approved, they go to the market, they get their commitments, and then close 60 to 90 days after. Common practice, you'll see that with other developments that come through. The particular issue with this one is that the draft pro forma that has been submitted to us in multiple iterations never equaled 0 or 1, whichever you want to look at, right? And that's what we've been asking for. Amendment, please submit additional documentation. This doesn't, when you do 1 + 1, it doesn't equal 400. This kind of stuff, and even the existing pro forma that we have right now, which is dated December 14th, still has the bonds out of $9 million proceed and not a $6 million proceed. So where's the other $3 million coming from? Like, these are the questions that we are constantly asking the developer, and we have not gotten concrete answers, and that's why we have not been able to recommend an RDA to you guys. If the pro forma was buttoned up and everything made sense, and I don't even care about the rate of return, but as long as all the sources actually made sense, we would be recommending, here's the RDA, you want to go forward. I don't know how they're financing it in this current situation.
I have
Hang on just a
answered.
second. I want Attorney Wolf to.
In addition, a standard practice for any redevelopment agreement is that there is this proof of financing. There are letters of commitment, even though the financing isn't necessarily closed upon. There are letters of commitment that financing will come through, and that's what the village has been asking for, and we don't have those letters of commitment. What we have, the main source of financing is the commitment that they will apply for financing with HUD.
So moving forward, if we agree to redo a new RDA, this would be something that's not common within HUD development or projects like this. Is that correct?
What was unusual initially about this agreement is the issuance of the bond proceeds at the very beginning. to the developer. So all the bond proceeds have been issued to the developer. And now we don't have a project. There could have been a different way that this would have been structured so that the village had some more control over the project with respect to the issuance of those bonds. However, that's already water under the bridge. We've already done that. What you would do in any kind of new RDA is have that financing. So it would be unusual to, it would be risky. But in any development, there is a level of risk that you're going to, that the development won't come to fruition. There's some things that the village can't control. That's one of those things. But in an effort to minimize that risk, villages require proof that they can actually do it at the time that they're engaging in that agreement.
What is the likelihood of a HUD application not being approved?
It depends, because the HUD's going to ask for all the details that we've been asking for in triplicate, because it's HUD. So I don't know. It all depends on.
Yeah, and that, I
applicant.
think, has been the big question mark on this whole thing. You know, it's a big ask for HUD, and we already know that HUD disapproved the original developer when he went to HUD for financing. Now, it's a different situation, it was a different model that he had, but we already know that HUD did not approve financing on this type of project on this property. So
Yeah.
it could go, and it may not go through HUD.
Yeah. Additionally, we've been reviewing performa after performa after performa, which constantly is changing. The most recent one, December 14, this is the first time that we've seen that it's been a $75 million ask from HUD. There were other sources at every other revision. So HUD doesn't even know that they're going to get a $75 million ask, which was one of our questions was, have you submitted to HUD yet? And per the slide, Dr. Vish, per the slide, just most recently, it was January of 2024 to be submitted. And that's like right now. And we've been asking for it.
We cannot submit anything directly to HUD. We have
Merchants Capital,
repeatedly
the
said it has been submitted to Merchants Capital. We can only go through them. We cannot directly deal with HUD, number one. Number two, unless we show clear title, nobody will close on this project. None whatsoever, whether it's bridge loan or a construction loan. We cannot show clear title to HUD because there is no RDA. And so this is like the very first step is the RDA. If that is not approved, then there is no project. And the as far as HUD is concerned, it is not possible to give a commitment. I don't know, Melissa, where you get your ideas from, but it's, you know, if you're working with HUD, it's a process. It does take time. And and we cannot get a commitment because we don't have title. We don't have clear title. Who will give me commitment? Nobody. I can't get it. So you in order to have a clear title, I need the RDA. And if that doesn't go through, then end of story.
Director McLaughlin, you had stated, or President Kazone, you had stated previously that a HUD loan was denied at that location. Does HUD ever give an explanation as to why they would deny something or what those parameters are that they're looking for? And how do they compare to the proposal that is going forward now?
Sure. I have not spoken with HUD specifically regarding that denial, but every application is unique.
Okay.
So just because there was a denied one on that particular property, what was that ask? What were the conditions? What was the market rate? We believe it was 100% market rate with no affordable component. That could be one indicator, but without having a full conversation, which I have not, I don't know. But every HUD application is very unique. That's why they take so long, because it's not just check the boxes. It's full underwriting on the specifics that they're submitting.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And for clarification, there is an existing redevelopment agreement associated with this property. It has not been terminated. It's just that all of the deadlines that the developer had to meet under that agreement as extended and amended one time have not been met. But there is an existing RDA associated with this property still.
But the title company has a note from the village saying that it's in default. So they won't give me clear title.
The developer has defaulted on the dates, but we haven't terminated that agreement. That's an official action that would need to be taken by the board.
So $100,000 is what you're in default, approximately with
That's
the-
not what they said. I think the zoning and the dates and all of
Dates,
that.
there's construction dates that were in there.
I understand, okay, okay.
But that is one of the items that's in breach of contract right now.
One of the items.
Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I know that there's an understanding that there is a level of risk that we are taking if we're looking at modifying or going into a modified agreement here. But Trustee Patrick, a while ago, had touched on something about compromise. And Dr. McLaughlin, I wanted to ask you, and this can be, it doesn't have to go into a lot of detail. Do you have some examples of where we have had some compromise happening between staff and developer?
Yeah, so this is all pending because the RDA is still in draft form.
Mm-hmm.
Staff has acknowledged to not enforce the 2021 building code on this particular property. If doing so, that would require a complete new set of drawings, new stamp, new review, probably 50,000 worth of review time just to get that over the hump. So we're agreeing to issue it under the already reviewed 2015. So I mean, that's a compromise that's popping into my head right now, right?
Okay.
Floor by floor.
So,
Floor,
well, yeah,
yep,
floor by
floor CO per all life safety of the entire first floor and public spaces, as opposed to a single building, which just for note, was the construction schedule that submitted was for an entire building, one-time CO. So we're amenable to as floor by floor.
let me interrupt you there
Two
for a
big ones.
moment, if I could. Any compromise on the developer side?
Sure. In the current amended, it'd be first amendment to the RDA is the $100,000 over 5 years payment, and they've agreed to pay that in its full at time of permit issuance.
Are you talking about the 100,000 that's?
Correct. Yeah, it was 300,000 upfront for demolition, connection fees, and some stormwater, and then 100,000 for the next 5 years for a total of 800,000. That's the March 1, 2023 deadline that has obviously come and gone, and so there's a March 1, 2024 deadline coming up. But the idea was that no more continued payments, lump sum at time of building permit issuance.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, I think
It did have, so the slide you showed us tonight, you showed closing with HUD August 2024. I guess that's a conservative, because that's a new time that I hadn't seen before. If you close with HUD on 2024, when can you put a spade in the ground after that?
next day.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because it would have to, yeah, it would be, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I had
Trustee
another
Alfano.
question for Dr. McLaughlin. Dr. Vish had mentioned that we do have a construction timeline, and that the construction timeline likely wouldn't change. Can you give us?
They submitted one in the last week and a half.
A week and a half, okay.
After we've requested continuously an updated construction schedule.
Has it changed from the original, just the timeline? I
It
understand
is
there's so
drastically
many
changed
other-
from the original.
It
Yeah,
has?
yeah. The original was a full building construction, and then you
Okay.
open 24 months from the start of construction.
Mm.
The floor-by-floor approach is a completely different model, which we had never seen a construction schedule like that until recently submitted, and even then, it's still, it may get us over the hump for an RDA, but it's not ready for permit.
Okay. Thank you.
Did the latest pro forma meet the construction schedule? I know that was one of the big sticking points.
Yes, because the pro forma was ahead of the construction schedule. The pro forma had built in floor by floor, but the construction schedule never did.
Okay. Just Kozar.
So initially, we issued an RDA, and then we gave an extension to the RDA. And during that time, early release bonds were given. Developer took that money, used it in, there weren't really any restrictions. He used it in whatever way the developer seemed appropriate at the time. The village put their name on those bonds, even though they're not financially liable for those bonds. Because of a bad deal that our previous manager and previous attorney allowed our village to get into, we traded pieces of property, but we didn't actually get that piece of property back. And as it stands right now, one of the compromise positions was there's an $800,000 permit fee, but we would spread it over. So you pay $100,000 this year, $100,000 next year, and so forth. So they're behind on one of those payments for $100,000. They've also been to our adjudication court for certain things that are against ordinance or improper, one way or another, and they've been fined for that. And they haven't paid that fine.
Correct.
And
Wasn't it
the
over-
comment that the developer has been waiting 9 months for us to approve the RDA isn't entirely correct, because we've always been willing to approve an RDA if they brought some sort of loan commitment to us. Even if it was a loan commitment that said, if the village does these things and if the developer does these things, then we will loan the money. But here's some sort of firm commitment with exceptions. But we've never seen that. And during that 9 months, we've always been willing to say, okay, we'll rewrite the NDA, but after issuing you an RDA and giving you an extension, now we want to make sure that we're not just kicking the can down the road for another 9 months or a year or something like that. And now the last resort becomes the first resort, which there's no guarantee that HUD's going to loan this money. So maybe in 9 months from now or a year from now, we find out HUD doesn't want to loan the money on it. Now the last resort is not a resort, and we're left in a worse position than we were 9 months ago. But now you're coming to us saying, give us another 1 year extension on this. Isn't all that correct? Am I missing something here?
No, it's a fairly accurate summary.
Let me answer that. I don't think you are ever going to get a guarantee from any lender. Any lender with any commitment has got a right to pull that commitment at the last minute until the moment of closing. You are not going to get it from anybody, number one.
Have we gotten anything close to that? Maybe a letter of intent that said.
We
we're
have
willing to
given,
loan
we
you
have given the letter from Merchants Bank. Kindly go through it. We have given every information that was asked for. And more.
You Showed me 3 letters of intent that were like over a year and a half old, and tried to pawn them off on me to say these are current, until I looked at the date and I said, wait a minute, these are a year and a half old.
Yeah,
So if that's the route you want
we
to
are
go
not, we are not talking about that. We have given the letter from Merchants Capital showing where exactly the project stands. We have given that letter to the village. And secondly, you have to look at the track record. We have done a whole bunch of very large projects and very difficult projects and successfully completed. Yes, there were challenges along the road, but we never walked away. Not a single project that we walked away. And this is not the first rodeo for me. And we've been in business for 40 years. And just because we hit some bumps along the road, if you want to, throw away the baby with the bathwater, go ahead. But there are a lot of things at risk. That's all I can say.
What happens if you don't get the HUD loan?
That's, what happens if an atom bomb falls on America? It's not, we are
A
doing.
lot worse than not getting a HUD
we-
loan. I can guarantee you that.
I mean,
But my question is, you don't have an atom bomb, do you? So that's irrelevant. Let's talk about what you do
yeah,
possibly
it's-
have
it-
control over. What if you don't get a HUD loan?
We can only go by what is best possible today. I mean, we can certainly be looking at other sources. We will simultaneously proceed with looking at other sources, but here is something, a reliable lender who has performed in the past, which is HUD. So we are comfortable, and simultaneously we are looking at other options. If we can avoid HUD and come to closing sooner, we'll certainly do it.
I can speak to that Merchants Capital letter if you'd like a little bit. Merchants Capital letter that Dr. Vish is referring to was submitted to us on January 10th during a meeting, which was dated October of 2023, which had the funding sources different than the pro forma that we are currently reviewing from December. So that's why we not accepted that. It included low-income housing tax credits, it had a B note, it had not the correct dollar amount that they were requesting to HUD, it wasn't the same thing. And we did not receive that until January 10th, and even though it was dated October 23, and again, we've been negotiating an RDA and pro forma for the last 9 months.
Thank you. That's the letter that I should copy.
The current request is $1 million less, so.
Again, submit everything, please, in writing. The verbal stuff has no weight until you give it to us.
Like I said, we can only submit to Merchants Capital.
But the numbers have to match. Like Dr. McLaughlin said, the numbers just have not matched in 9 months.
It's not true. It's when the serviceability of the bonds came into question, we had to look at the feasibility of this 20% affordability criteria, and so we had to change it. And that was the only reason. Otherwise, we would have stuck to the original number. And we had to give up some of the tax abatements that we would have been receiving. So we got rid of that. And we also presented something whereby the whole bonds could be repaid within their existing useful life. I mean, it's...
Just, if I may, sir, do you have a letter from Merchants Capital saying that you're ready to submit the loan for whatever, 74.47, whatever, somewhere in there in that neighborhood for $75 million to HUD? Do you have something from them saying that they're aware that that is the amount that you're going to ask from HUD?
No, I don't have a letter to that effect. I didn't ask them for that because it's not, it's in process. They keep, we have another meeting probably they will set up with HUD.
Okay.
And we will go for that meeting.
Great. Ron.
So, my last thing here. This doesn't feel great. I sat here, I listened, I told you I was new. I like to think that there's a quote that kind of brings me to center here, which is the more time you spend contemplating what you should have done, you lose valuable time planning what you can and will do. I'm going to vote no for this. I just don't see it. The math doesn't math. Deadlines are passed without anything. I've been here since May, I think. Haven't heard anything from you at all. This is our first interaction. It just didn't go well for me. So if this does vote, I'm going to vote absolutely no.
Trustee Alfano.
So we have been given a lot of information about what we should look up online, given what Villa Park would be known for if Equiterra does come to fruition, which is, I do believe, the future of development. But I also then, as we're sitting here, I'm looking at what's going on with Hawthorne. And I was wondering if you can say a little bit about City Place Burlington?
Yeah, City Place Burlington is one of the projects that we have been involved in, and we are only looking at phases 2 and 3, not in the first phase. So it's still under active consideration for participation.
Okay, and you don't have that currently listed as something that, a project on your website, correct?
Not now, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Corkery?
So I guess just to say where I'm at with this is, I know that the board had requested to see full funding before approving any kind of RDA, and if staff is comfortable waiving that, then I am, but I would like to see staff get all the documents that they want before we move forward. I think that's sort of my baseline for moving forward on this, is full cooperation with what village staff is asking for. So if we can get that, then I'd be happy to move forward on this, but until that happens, I don't think I can.
Absolutely, we have never turned away a request for more information. I will be more than happy to provide
And
whatever
have all
else.
the numbers match up and all that.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. I'm on the same page as Trustee Corkery. I think this project is too big and too important for Villa Park to throw it away to the wayside. However, I'm not an expert in these matters, all right? That's why I rely heavily on our village manager and our community development director. And I put my faith in them and their expertise. And I am fine with creating a new RDA if they believe that it will be beneficial to Villa Park and getting this project up and running. But they need to have the documentation that they need. Now, I don't know how easy it is to obtain some of that information or the documentation from merchant credit or whoever to get a new letter or what that might be. But if this project is important to you as well, I think it's essential that spend your time and your effort in getting these documents in a timely manner, so that way we can make this deadline for you. Because at the beginning of this meeting, we are not against you. We want this project ever since you brought it here. And I think we understand the benefit of a project like this to our community. This is something big for us. For the longest time, Villa Park has not seen something to this magnitude in a very long time, probably since Ovaltine. This is important for us moving forward, and it should stay that way. But it's essential that some of these simple documents, well, I don't know if they're simple or not, but regardless of how hard they are to obtain, this should be a priority for you to get to Director McLaughlin and our manager. If you can do that, you've got my vote yes. I want to see this project go through. But again, I'm not an expert. I rely on these individuals here to give me that information and help me make those decisions up here as a board member. And if that's what they're asking, that's what I need too.
I'll be more than happy to provide that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to get some direction, because the information that we're requesting is this financing. That's the biggest component to it. And right now, the financing is this proposed financing with HUD, and they're at the pre-application stage of it. We've got, it sounds like this October 26, 2023 letter from Merchants Capital, you know, that's contingent upon HUD issuing a firm commitment. That appears to have been updated. We don't have that information, but I think the bigger question is that sufficient for the village? Because that's not financing at this stage. So, you know, staff needs direction, because if that's not sufficient, we need to know that at this stage, so that we can give the developer the direction. In addition, any agreement that's amended that would be presented to the board has to be approved by the board, and the next meeting date, the earliest meeting date now is February 12th. And so Dr. Vish has expressed a deadline of January, end of January. So if the board was inclined to say, okay, we're gonna allow the proposed financing or the application for the financing to be sufficient, Dr. Vish, you have to understand that February 12th is the very first, if we get that direction from the board, that this could, an amended agreement could be approved.
And can I add one quite quick? So even if we decided we wanted to do that, we're going to have the time to put together the actual RDA amendment.
Yeah.
You know, the RDA agreement would not be, just to anticipate, we can't come back in a week and get it in underneath that deadline, because as we were speaking, there were still some questions about, I think there was a couple of technical changes that your attorney had sent to us, was it last week? So we're going to have to fix that in the document has to be done. We can't bring a partial document back to this board. So we would have to have it ready essentially by February 7th, which is the Wednesday before. So we can get that done if the board is willing to let us bring forward a document that does not require complete financial, without, I mean, we need to know what the parameters for approval of the financial parameters and the scope of projects is presented tonight. And then we need to be able to approve that on February 12th. You need to figure out a way to survive until February 12th with this project. And then, you know, we've got to be ready to extend the zoning deadline beyond June 12th, because we're looking right now at August 24th unless a miracle occurs.
Yeah, just to confirm a couple of things. The commitment is what, obviously, we've been trying to obtain, knowing how this works. We were never actually really going to get that commitment in advance. It was a Merchants Capital letter that matched everything that they're verbally telling us, and then again, would match the pro forma. And staff has issued a letter January 17th with additional corrections that we've been asking for. This is letter 7. So timeline is his own timeline. I've submitted multiple requests. If you'd like to see it all, it's all right there. Expediency is lacking.
Trustee Alfano.
So I have listened to what my colleagues here have said, and I am happy that we're able to have this dialogue. And I think that's something that Trustee Patrick has said kind of resonates with me. And it has to do with how our staff is treated, and it has to do with the asks that our staff has repeated. It sounds like they've repeatedly asked for you to maintain your timeline, to get the information, to make sure that your information matches what you are coming to them with today. And my understanding is, if I'm reading this and understanding this correctly, is that that is not always happening, and so that's kind of stalling this process. And so I feel like I have to be very protective of our staff, because we do have great staff, and I feel like our staff is being taken advantage of here in this situation. And that makes me a little frustrated as a board member and as a resident here in Villa Park. I think that I'd like to know if we have to make this decision this evening. I'd like to know if we could go into executive session and have a conversation about that, or if this needs to be voted on right here, right now.
Yeah, you want to,
This particular question is an open question discussion. It's up to the board when you want to make that decision. I'm just expressing the timeline that has been dictated by the developer. But the board can move at the pace that the board deems appropriate.
And basically, the question that we'll propose is the board willing to have staff prepare an RDA that they're comfortable with without having firm commitments on the financing and allowing the RDA to go on with just the commitment of the developer to say, I'm going to HUD to get financing. So that's really what we're looking at here.
So then, can I ask another question, and don't feel like you have to answer it if you don't want to. Do you feel like you've ever had the commitment whenever we have somebody who came in and said, when the developer has come in and said, I'm ready, here it is, have we ever been prepared at all?
On this particular
On this
project?
particular RDA, or the extension of the RDA?
No, it's been constantly moving. So no.
So it's just constantly spinning?
Every submittal, review, letter, resubmit, it's a different pro forma. Different sources,
completely
different dollar amounts, different timeline, different bond amount, different everything. So then it's
Not
like,
just one thing that's
I would have loved if it was one thing. No, it's constant.
Okay.
And that's part of the problem is that, all right, 2-week review, let me get you a letter, all the unanswered things from the first time, plus now what additionally I've learned, right? And it's that.
Can I?
All of 2023.
Can I respond to that? I think the frustration is on both sides. Unfortunately, every time we submit, you will ask some, why didn't you do this? Well, why didn't you ask us earlier? I mean, he looks at something and then he asks more questions, and then more questions. And then we answer that, and then few more. If we had submitted like one shot, this is what I want to see, then the whole misunderstanding could be avoided. Anyway, this has been the past, but I'm extending an olive branch and saying, listen, we are here to satisfy the village staff, and we will do it. We will give him all the documents that he needs to make a proper evaluation.
So that particular line that you just heard, I've heard 47 times.
Okay. Just one quick question to follow up on this. Did you provide us with one set of financing that proposed that we would extend the length of the bond and the TIF by 10 years? Was there one of your proposals that we would extend the bond by 10 years and the TIF by 10 years to make the project work? Was that one of your proposals?
There was two proposals crafted by our TIF consultant. One was if we keep the existing debt service coverage and the what you call the capitalized interest needs of the bond market, then there is a need for extending by, I think it's 5 years. It's not 10 years, if I remember correctly. I don't have it in front of me. But extend it by a certain time period, we can do that. Then when the village objected, again, this is a process. We submit something and then the village says, no, we cannot accept it. Only then we can react. So they couldn't accept it. So fine, that's fine. I'm not criticizing. Village said the bonds have to be paid off within the existing life of the bonds.
Why was that?
Pardon me?
Why was that? What was the reason we gave you?
Well, you said that the school district has difficulty giving you an extension, and they would not approve an extension. You know, you have had difficulty getting an extension on another TIF district.
Right. So the gist of this, one of the performers was submitted. It included a 10-year extension, which requires an act of the General Assembly in Springfield and notes of approval from all the taxing districts. We asked 2. The first 2 said no. So we went through that proposal and then we went back. That's just one of the examples.
Right. And I understand that. Again, this is a process. So we went back and we gave a proposal that would pay off the bonds within the existing life of the bonds. We did come up with that and submitted that.
Okay. Okay, let's, Trustee Patrick.
I'm going to be voting yes in favor of extending this or allowing our staff to do this, all right? I think this is a project that should go forward. And if you are willing to commit in this short period of time what it takes to get our staff those documents that are needed, that they request, I am willing to commit as much time of my time as necessary to make sure that this project moves forward. Whether that be we hold special meetings and a timeline to make this happen, or what needs to be done. So if you've made comments with staff, but now with me, if you're willing to commit to me that you can get this documentation to our staff, I'm willing to do whatever I can up here to make sure that this project goes through for you. And I agree that this is a beneficial project to Villa Park. But again, it goes both ways. And it doesn't seem to me that these are extremely difficult documents to get to them, and they shouldn't have to come to you 40-something times for this. Now, I understand on your end that it might be difficult to produce some of these, but again, it's prioritizing, especially in a timeline crunch like this. But if you're willing to commit to getting our staff those documents, I'm willing to commit my time for you.
I appreciate that. I indeed appreciate that. Trustee Patrick, you have my commitment.
Trustee Kozar.
When did we first learn of that January 31st deadline? Does anybody from staff have that idea?
It's been talked about, never fully committed to that hard date right now. There was an extension that we were aware of. It's been talking points. Nothing firm. Even this is still just a talking point. We don't have anything in writing.
Okay. And then if we were to deny this today, does that mean that we can never reconsider it, or could we reconsider it tomorrow?
All we're asking you is if you're willing to forgo the idea of having full proof of financing. If we did that and continued the negotiation of an RDA on this, if we agreed to that, then the other thing that the staff would have to ask for is we're going to have to come back to you with the time of the zoning extension. And the other part will be, as we draft the RDA, there'll have to be some point in that agreement where if we do not have actual closing, that we then, terminate the agreement, which wasn't in the first agreement. So the staff, I don't think it would be prudent of the staff to bring back an agreement that didn't have that. But the other thing is to get the other documents. So that would be agreeing to have this continued and allowing them to allowing us to bring forward an RDA that does not require full proof of full financing now, but would have to have some sort of timeline by which we would have to prove. Because according to his the Hawthorne official statement tonight is that the commitment from HUD would come sometime in June, which means we would have to extend the zoning deadline, probably to be safe, at least 3 months beyond. And I think, or zoning extensions only.
I think it's a year.
A year.
We have to do a year.
I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's a year anyway.
Year,
So.
up to a year in year increments.
But then there has to be an RDA underneath that, which is where we're at right now, is that the underlying zoning is there, but there's no RDA to give them the rights to that use. So we would have to come up with some way, and guidance on what that point is would be helpful. But right now, the decision is RDA that does not have firm financing, or no on RDA that does not have firm financing, only an RDA with firm financing. And they have told us that they can't get that because they have to have the bridge loan. So that's where we're at this impasse. The only way to break that impasse is to say that we can get an RDA brought to you where we have a pathway to financing, but we cannot have certainty to financing.
So with that being said then, again, I think, and I don't speak for the whole board, but I think this is a project that we'd like to see go through. Eventually, or at some point go through. You're the experts. All right? So I think, at least from my point of view, I would like to see this project go through. So I'm relying on you, and this is what I would hope the rest of the board will agree to, is allow you the leeway to try to come up with something. And the key word is try. And if you, as our experts in Villa Park in community development, don't agree with this, neither will I.
Understood.
Yep, understood. Okay. Okay. So I'd like to get a consensus for staff to prepare an amended redevelopment agreement with Hawthorne Development without a firm proof of financing. And also that we would agree to extend the PUD zoning for the project for another year past June of 2024. Okay?
Yeah, we prepare that for.
Okay, so that would be all as one consensus on that. Clerk Kornecki.
Okay, trustee Alfano,
No.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
No.
trustee Cordova.
No.
President Kazone.
I will vote yes on that.
Okay.
However, that's a 3-3.
That doesn't give us
That
direction.
doesn't give us direction at all. Okay. All right, so. Okay, so
Status quo.
Yeah.
This doesn't preempt the village from talking with Vish and seeing if they can figure something else out. Bringing it
yeah,
back
but
to the board.
he won't be able to do anything without an RDA. So
We're not
basically,
voting for an RDA today anyway.
yeah, but we were
There's no
to give
consensus.
consent. Yeah, but we were going to give staff the authority to draft a new one. So as of now,
They don't have that authority.
well,
Yeah,
they
mine's
could,
still in
but
mind.
they could, and they could bring it back to us, but we don't know if the board would accept it. And that's the reason why we're trying to get a consensus here.
The last direction is that it should have proof of financing.
Right.
So that's what we were looking for, a change in that direction. And right now, there is not enough votes to change that direction.
What would be the next milestone or deadline? It's the 31st?
Well,
Not under our agreement, there's no milestone or obligation the village has to meet. It's the developer
That's
that's
what I'm
requested
saying, like,
that.
how fast can you get this done, I guess? It's 10 days, is it?
The
100?
RDA? Are you asking for the RDA?
Yeah.
How
Well, that's-
fast can we get it done?
Yeah,
We've been constantly working on it for 9 months.
yeah. No, I'm not gonna change my mind.
Yeah.
We
The
got-
next deadline is the June zoning deadline, though, just to clarify, on our end.
But you have to realize that in RDAs, the only RDA that we will have staff make is one that has proof of financing. That was what the direction they had. So unless they can get an RDA with Hawthorne having proof of financing, there will not be an RDA brought to the board.
And that timeline is June?
That's,
Well, that's when the zoning expires. The PUD expires. in June.
I have low confidence in it getting done and them coming back with financing, sorry. But, I mean, do we want to just delay the inevitable, or do we just want to chop it here?
Well, you basically chopped it here.
Yeah,
By
okay.
not getting a consensus on that.
And that doesn't mean that the developer can't change course and provide something different that would change the village's mind. As I said, there is an existing redevelopment agreement that is underlying this situation and applies to the property. That agreement has not been terminated at this time. So there is the village can make the decision if they want to terminate the agreement at a later date. Under the terms of the existing agreement, they have the authority to do that under the agreement. It's just, you're confined to the remedies available in what's existing right now.
Got it.
Trustee Patrick.
My question to you is, how soon can you get the required documentation to our staff? Being that now the ball is in your court, how soon could that happen?
I mean, as long as I have that in writing, the exact document that he needs, we can work on
So can I request, and maybe this has already happened a bunch of times, but
The letter
One-
dated January 17th, 2024.
maybe one last request.
Sure.
That staff sends out one last documentation to you outlining specifically exactly what we are looking for, item by item. If staff can give that to you, what's the soonest you think that you could produce those documents?
In my mind, I think we have given everything, but in case he's not satisfied, he can raise questions and we'll be happy to resubmit.
So we're not asking you to resubmit, and I'm not asking you to resubmit, but there's a discrepancy right now between what you're saying and what staff is saying of what they're looking for. And right now, in order for you to proceed forward, staff needs a bulleted list of certain documentations. If you can provide those to them, I think this board would have a different perspective on this project. However, this is why I'm saying, and I'm requesting of staff, let's send out one more letter tomorrow or in the next day outlining exactly what they look.
Correct.
So that way we are all on the same page here, and then you can start your clock as to getting us those documentations in a timely manner, so that way we make these deadlines. Because again, time is of the essence, and this is a very important project, not just for you, but for us as a village too. But we can't move forward unless this board agrees on that. And one of the biggest hiccups here is the fact that our staff is asking you for X, Y, and Z. Now, I'm asking our staff right now to propose a letter, bullet pointing all of those, sending it to you and your staff, so that way we are on the same page today. And then that way, you could let us know that yes, you could get X, Y, and Z, or no, you can't. So I think that is what's needed moving forward here. But that has to happen soon, because, again, time is of the essence here.
We'll be happy to comply. If he sends the letter tomorrow, we'll get to work on it.
Is that
This-
possible for staff to do?
I'm going to forward the email from January 17th, 2024 tonight. It's the outstanding 6 items that you've seen, but you have not responded to.
In that email, are they clearly bulleted?
It's a staff review letter. It's
Okay.
quite blatant.
And there are 6 items.
Yeah, half dozen.
6 items, half dozen. He's forwarding the email to you or to your staff tonight. That's what we require.
Some of them, I don't know if this was understood or not, because we simply sent the response from our TIF consultant clearly answering 3 of those questions. And I said, if you had further questions, I will be happy to set up a meeting. I have repeatedly said this with our TIF consultant so that it can be clarified, and I have heard no response.
However, the burden of proof is on you.
Yeah, I'll be happy to set up the meeting. I mean, they have to agree to the meeting.
No, they've agreed, and they've agreed to sit down and talk with you multiple times, and they continue to ask you for those 6 items.
I'm saying, I don't know the exact 6 items, but the 3 of those items relate to the bond.
Okay.
And they were very clearly explained question number wise by our TIF consultant, because they related to the EAVs and the increments, etc. And I repeatedly sent it to McLaughlin.
Did you get a response?
No. I said, if you have a problem with this, I'll be happy to set up a call with our TIF consultant so that we can all be on the same page and understand this. But I haven't heard back.
So here's just little inside baseball. Pro forma is an Excel document with multiple tabs. This cell references another tab with another cell with an equation, which then references the EAVs of the parcels and the pins and all that fun stuff. When I ask questions on that particular document, you're missing some pins, or pins are on here that are not actually allocated to this project. You have to fix that. A standalone Excel document that gets submitted that has all that doesn't update the pro forma that I'm reviewing.
But that EAV was,
Spreads to show
that's why I'm saying, look, this was prepared by a consultant. Let's talk to her. I don't know why you're, resisting talking to her. I have made this
don't
request repeatedly.
Speak to
I
a
have said 3,
consultant
4
when the numbers
times.
don't match. There's no point in wasting consultants' time when it just doesn't
Sir,
make sense.
I am paying for the consultant, you are not. And
And I respect that consultant too much to waste her time.
It's not
All right,
wasting.
I mean, we can do this.
Hang on.
I'll-
All right.
Months.
We're not getting anywhere here.
Months.
Okay.
Something is done.
So we are going to have an email forwarded to you with 6 bulleted points of what specifically we are needing from the village. So from my understanding, there's no more wiggle room anymore. Fool me once, fool me twice. All right, there's no more wiggle room. You are going to know what you need specifically based off of that email, and either you can produce it or you can't.
Okay. The question I want to ask our village attorney, we have already said, since we had no consensus to get an RDA without a firm financing, if staff gets a RDA as proposed, can we still vote on it, even though we had a consensus against doing that?
Yes, in the sense there was no consensus turning it down, voting it
Okay.
down. It was the status quo.
Okay, so if
So-
staff, yeah, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
So, I mean, basically, we need to understand that, the board needs to understand that the proposed financing consists of an application for a HUD loan. And then there's a PACE loan that is $30 million with $28 million available as proposed by the developer. And then, did you say $18 million with equity in the project?
Yes.
But that's once the project is completed. After completion, or are you saying right now there's
As
$18
of
million?
today, yes, as of today.
And that's the property?
Yes.
The value of the property is 18?
Our expenses, no, not the value. Value can be
So
anything.
what's the equity in the property?
It's the 18 million less the $3 million loan. Our equity is 15 million.
So, given that information on the financing, that's what we were seeking. This is what staff has mainly been struggling with respect to moving forward with this agreement. And if the village is willing to, vote on an amended agreement, understanding that financing consists of what we're hearing today, the other documentation that's going to be required has to be the construction schedule that works with that. There are various exhibits that still haven't been submitted. And those will need to be submitted by the developer and, but we needed to get over that hurdle of whether the financing as proposed was sufficient enough for us to continue working on the matter. But if it does come, if we do bring an agreement before the board at a later time, you can, of course, vote on that. There's no direction that's been given to us today that precludes that.
Okay. Okay.
And again, staff up until this conversation wasn't looking for that commitment from HUD knowing how this goes. We were looking for numbers, an application, just accuracy. And we still have a pro forma that has a $9 million bond in it, which isn't what we bonded. So I would never have brought that for you guys because the increment can't pay that back, I will never bring you guys something that I'm not going to recommend
Okay, so
unless
you guys still have a
want me
lot,
to,
you
actually.
guys still have a lot of work to do here.
Correct.
And, before it comes to us, like I've told you, Doctor, in all of our meetings, if you can convince these 3 people, I'll convince the board. Because we all want this project to go, but if you can't convince these 3 guys, 2 guys and young lady, it's not going to come to the board. Okay?
Well, ultimately, everything's the decision of the board. That's what we've been
Right.
saying. Like, we as staff cannot make these decisions. These are decisions only the village board can make. So, that's why we needed that guidance. It will not be us that makes any decisions on this. We can only advise you, I can advise you on the legal ramifications of the agreement, and staff can advise on their, the information they've been provided, but we are not the decision makers. So if anything more comes to our attention, it's our obligation to bring that to the board to make decisions on that.
Okay.
I just would make one request. We employ a lot of professionals, and if questions need to be clarified through the help of those paid professionals for whom we have paid very, very dearly, I think the village should be amenable to listen.
Like when we talked to your attorney the other week. The one of your requests is that we meet with your attorney, and we did that just a couple of weeks ago.
I understand, but I'm talking about TIF consultant. There are questions, legitimate questions asked by McLaughlin, and the right person to answer is our TIF consultant.
Dr. Vish, can your TIF consultant provide written responses to the director's questions?
She did.
They have.
And he had concerns on those written responses. So I'm saying we'll have it clarified. We have paid her.
Okay. Well, Director McLaughlin you sent the
I will
email
resend the email this evening.
and everything that you need, and we'll stay in constant contact and see how things are moving along. Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, we will move on to item 15, new business. I don't believe we have any new business. Item 16A, acceptance of the minutes from November 14th, 2023 Parks and Rec Advisory Commission meeting, and the minutes of the October 24th, 2023 Community Fund Commission. Those are in everyone's packets. Item 17, Village Clerk's Report.
Oh, no report, thank you.
Village Trustees Report, we will start on our left. Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I first of all wanted to thank the Fund Commission and congratulate our Holiday Decoration Award winners. It's always nice to have them in here, and I want to also thank all of the residents who help light up our village during the holiday season, including the Prairie Path, and it just makes it more festive and brightens up our dreary Decembers and dark December. I also wanted to again remind everybody about 211dupage.gov. That's the resource that you can use for many services if you find yourself in need, including warming centers. I know that it's been cold, although it sounds like we're going to get a reprieve from that. Outside of our Villa Park Library, you might need an additional location, food pantry services, assistance with housing expenses, mental health services, domestic violence shelters, basically a lot of different services that you can utilize. I've advised my own personal friends and family to check out that resource, even if you don't need it now, because you never know if somebody that you know will need it or when you might need something like that. So if you just get familiar with what's out there for yourself, I think it's important. I had an opportunity on Martin Luther King Day to sit down with one of our scouts here in our community. Her name is Katerina. She needed to earn a badge, she needed to talk to one of our community leaders about environmental concerns and what our community is doing here regarding environmental concerns. And she asked a lot of different questions and some great questions about how our village supports those policies, and expressed some great interest in learning how she can get involved in encouraging the village to plant more trees. So Manager Harline, I've mentioned that she can contact you and maybe sit down with you and maybe have that discussion at some point. She's 10, so I said I would join her in that discussion, and I think she'd just like to open up that communication as she's planning some ideas for future projects that she might want to do in Scouts. And I thought that she could also be a possible future junior commissioner for the Environmental Concerns Commission, should we as a board ever decide that we want to have any junior commissioners on that commission. I want to thank Director Guerra and our members of the Public Works Department. I do not work very far away from home, and I dread, my husband will tell you, I dread having to drive in all of this, all of the weather. I never worry about getting out of Villa Park. I know that I'm going to be really safe when I drive through Villa Park. It is when I get out of Villa Park that I know I need to like white knuckle. So really, thank you very much for making sure that we are safe and thank your staff for me. We really do appreciate. Manager Harline, thank you for including the commission openings in your manager reports. I think that was really a great thing for us to actually see and for the community to see. We have coffee with the board on February 3rd, and the Fund Commission meeting is tomorrow here at 5:30, as you may have heard earlier today. I am the board liaison, so I will see you there. I hope to have some residents out to partake in the planning. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Corcoran.
No report this week.
Okay, Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. First, I'd like to give a shout out to the Villa Park Junior Warriors 8th grade bronze basketball team. Over the weekend, they came away with another win, 38-14. It was quite the dominant performance, so congratulations, guys. Good job out there. Also, I want to recognize our first responders for doing a heck of a job out there. It's busy. I get it, especially this season. So thank you for all that you do and being out there for all of that as well. It's going to get icy tonight, tomorrow, next couple of days. So just be careful driving. It's going to be slick. Be careful when you go out walking to prevent any kind of falls or injuries like that. And just have a good week. Be safe. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Cordova.
No report today.
Trustee Kozar.
Just briefly, with the rain that's coming in here and the snow, I know that Public Works was concerned about some flooding and water accumulation, so be patient with them and clean your drains if possible on the curb. But, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, too, also want to just mention the ice storm coming, and also the fire hydrants if we get a lot of snow, especially if they're close to the street and the plows kind of pack them up. If you could shovel 3 feet around them, help our fire department out. We are going to have a liquor commission meeting this Thursday, the 25th at 3:30 up here in the COW room. We have a couple items that the board has discussed in the past, so we will be meeting here Thursday, the 25th at 3:30. And that's all I have. Go to the manager's report.
Just real quickly, this Wednesday evening through Friday, I'm going to be in Dallas, Texas for the Servant Leadership Conference put on by SGR, which is Strategic Government Resources. So that's Suzanne McVeigh is our administrative officer, so she'll be in charge those days. For the next meeting on the Committee of the Whole, the discussion will be about the environmental scan for the strategic planning. And I have in my tentative schedule the draft for rules of order and procedure for discussion about the board, unless there's a preferred discussion item. We have officially declared the sled hill closed over by Jackson. We have signs made, they'll go up tomorrow. We did consult with Irma about different solutions and actually putting a fence to stop, or
barrier.
Hay bales they did not recommend that. In fact, they recommended against that, because instead of sliding down the rest of the embankment and into the pond and having a chance to bail off your sled, you instead would hit a solid barrier, and that the ice gets into the hay bales and you end up running into basically it was this equivalent of a concrete barrier. So they definitely discouraged that solution, although that was our first idea too. So finally, thank you for your mention about the openings on boards and commissions. That was not my idea. That was Cheryl Wagner, my assistant, but I will pass that on to her. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 21 is executive session. Pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C5, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. 5 ILCS 120/2C11, litigation, when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and enter into the minutes of the closed meeting. And 120/2C6, the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Alfano, we have a second. Trustee Corkery? Hey, Clerk Reneke?
Hey, trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. So we will go into executive session. We will adjourn out of executive session and then adjourn this meeting out of executive session. So everyone stay safe in the bad weather, and we'll see you in 3 weeks.